YouTube.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to our channel. Thank you for coming back and listening to us talk about almost anything controversial, political, non-political, funny, horrific, whatever.
Yeah. It's 2020, so anything goes.
It's still 2020.
Anything goes.
Day after Thanksgiving, we're still in a coma state. So if we slur our words, please please forgive us. See, already started. But we are actually, I really like this topic. We're going to talk about the Second Amendment and the gun rights, and how this whole topic of
I don't even call it a gun right. I say self-defense.
Well, I mean,
it falls into self-defense.
It's the right to own
right.
to own guns, and there's a lot of debates about it. Oh, the founding fathers never mentioned assault weapons, which I don't like to call them assault. They're not assault weapons.
Anything can be assault.
You can't really assault anybody with those weapons. Anything can be an assault weapon. A hammer could be an assault weapon. Yeah. So for those of you who don't own guns and have a lot to talk about,
I would say firearms.
Firearms, correct. I own multiple guns. He owns multiple guns. I've shot many rounds. I can't even count how many rounds I've shot.
You don't want to come over here uninvited.
No, and I have a good handle of gun safety. I try to teach it to my family as much as I can about gun safety. I think it's imperative for any gun owner to teach whoever that lives with them about gun safety. It's very, very important. Did you know they used to teach gun safety in schools back in the 70s?
Because
in
many
the 70s,
people they had firearms. I mean, majority of people
in
that
the
had
70s,
firearms back in the days.
Folks, in the 70s,
most people they lived in rural areas.
Yeah, they used to teach children about firearm safety, and just like driving a car, how they teach you driver's ed in high school. They teach you driver's ed, and this was part of the curriculum in the schools. Nevertheless, we have had incidents in the United States where crazy people, I like to call them, gone and shot a bunch of people, and that has brought up the topic of banning rifles, banning what do they call them, warlike weapons, and
weapons of war.
Weapons of war. Actually, technically,
an axe could be considered a weapon of war.
Yes, and
the bayonet is a weapon of war.
The AR-15s in the market currently for civilians are not the same weapons that are assigned to the military. Okay, they are not the same. The difference between them is the weapons assigned in the military are full auto.
Not even the ones assigned to military, they are bursts. So when I was in the military,
3 bursts at a time.
3 bursts at a time, because
But
you don't even want to be fully automatic, because you're going to run out of your magazine in like 2 seconds. So they want to be more actually training to be burst 3 rounds at a time.
Yes.
And that's actually optional. You can be on burst or just a single shot.
So the weapons that are sold for civilian use,
but the weapons for special forces and stuff, or just regular infantry units, that they are auto. So depending on what kind of missions that they go to, that depends.
Exactly. So all these people, they say automatic weapons on the street, automatic weapons on the street. People have automatic weapons. You know what, man? If you don't know anything about what weapons are and how they operate, shut your mouth. Don't talk. Don't even express an opinion.
Go take some weapon safety courses.
Go take some courses.
Purchase a firearm. Go to the range. Get to know some people. So then you can have educated opinion.
Exactly.
If you haven't been dealing with firearms, you haven't been around people who have been dealing with firearms, you haven't been to the range once in your life.
I do not take your opinion worth the crap.
Lies and fake news, then obviously your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard congressmen talk about AR-15 as if they've held it in their arms. They have no idea what the hell they're talking about. You know, they talk about butt stock. Do you even know what a butt stock does? Do you know what types of butt stocks are out there in the market? You have zero clue. But reality is, in the law for United States, Second Amendment law, it is illegal to own an automatic weapon. So for the gun owners out there, they know this because they review the law. Now there are some who just don't care. They can convert the weapons into an automatic weapon. But
I mean, it's proven that even with semi-automatic weapon, if somebody is crazy and they want to do damage, like that, let's say terrorists who went to Orlando Pulse nightclub, right? Yeah. Full of hatred. So he didn't have
Sandy Hook
or something like that. Even that person like that, I mean, people say, well, if you don't have weapon, then it's harder for them. I say, no, that is not true. When you are targeting some places that there are lots of people, you can do a lot of damage, more damage with other things. Let's say just a typical, just a pipe bomb or something like that.
Not even a machete.
Right, or just
a machete can cause so much harm, man. I mean, look what happened in France.
MS-13 is all doing actually their executions like a machete.
Exactly. So
beheading people. I mean, just take like 10 seconds. They had like in a Virginia Tech case.
Yeah,
the Chinese guy who just beheaded the girlfriend. Like everybody was in shock. Like,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I mean,
I'm just saying is that unfortunately, it's realization that we live. No matter how much you think, that's one thing I learned in the military. Like, no matter how much you think that the civilization is sanitized and you live maybe in a posh neighborhood and you feel safe, you really don't. And I encourage everybody to download any of this, like a spot crime or any of this, like a live data crime rate in your neighborhood. You would be fascinated because the police upload it and then they pull it from the public records, police records. So you can see, okay, I'm living in the neighborhood, I'm going on a jog and stuff, feel this is the safest neighborhood on the planet, and then maybe just, somebody kills somebody just 2 days and you don't hear it in news. A lot of things that
because
they don't cover it because they don't want people to panic.
Oh,
so
the
if
word
you download
panic?
Right.
Panic, right.
Well,
we'll talk about panic later.
They don't want people to panic. So you go and download those apps and just see what's going on. And people that they have the best chances of survival are the people that they're planning for the worst case scenario. And that's one of the reasons I'm big into the firearms. We came from countries, literally after the revolution, they came and confiscated all firearms, including hunting rifles.
Yeah.
Including hunting rifles, because the biggest killers and dictators in the history of mankind, especially 20th century up until now, those are the most anti-gun people. Yeah. They don't want guns for anybody but themselves.
So let's talk about this.
Politicians saying that.
Hold on one second.
Keep that in mind because with riots and everything, they don't care about your safety. They get their security. They always, living in areas that are safe. They don't care if you just live in a working class neighborhood and you're exposed to that.
Let me ask you a question. Why was the Second Amendment put in place? What was the main reason for it?
For people to rise against the tyranny of the government. So if the government went tyrannical, people can defend themselves and just, that's the purpose. It's not for hunting. It's not for, it wasn't even just necessarily just, it's obviously self-defense because what the tyrannical government is going to do is going to literally threat your safety and property. Right?
Basically, it's when the government starts to control your entire life and your livelihoods. So what does that mean? It means you have to obey by extreme restrictions, curfew. Taxation.
That's what they're talking about. They want 90%, 100% tax on it.
They want basically communism. If you want to look at it. If you want it in simple terms, it's communism. They don't want, the founding fathers don't want this country to be run by communists or socialists or anybody in that forum, because communists and socialists sort of fall into the same category if you want to break it down into different stages. So the Second Amendment was put in place so people can protect themselves against a tyrant government. And we see it now with this whole coronavirus thing, where states are making laws that are not constitutional, and the courts are
they don't care.
They don't care, and the courts are put in place so they can actually keep balance on these people or keep a check on these people. So to basically shut down their rulings or whatever, these people think they're kings.
Judges, they are not necessarily known to be the most courageous people.
No, I understand. I understand. I'm just
going to say it. I have zero trust in law enforcement agencies. I have zero trust in the criminal justice in this country.
It depends what state, though.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I just don't, because we come from places that absolutely we've seen the worst, and we have been around the world. We have seen the worst. And with everything going on, that people actually waking up, the double standards and everything, that we can talk about it forever, I just have zero trust. That means for a same, not even crime, not even a violation, right? If you have somebody in power here in your locality and state, they just want to have retribution against you, they can use the criminal justice system and come after you.
Yep.
And it's been proven. Look what they did to President Trump since the day he got elected. And that's a president. So if they can do that and get away with that, imagine what they can do to me and you.
Exactly. And this, and I hate to say it, but it's mostly fallen on the Democratic Party.
General Flynn. I mean, his case, we know for years that's been all bullshit.
Name me one person. Name me one person. Name me one person who's been.
Because the judge.
Hold on. Name me one person who was charged on the Logan Act.
Nobody.
Who has been charged on the Logan Act? Nobody. You know what? If that's the case, if they're talking about the Logan Act, Trump and his cabinets now, who he's selecting, should all be charged with the Logan Act.
The decorated three-star general.
Yeah, I mean, Biden is not elected yet.
He's violating the Logan Act, because
he's violating the Logan Act now.
In Iran,
exactly.
They're talking to all sort of crooked politicians.
All these
Chinese government.
They're talking to foreigners. They're talking to Russians. They're talking to the Chinese. They're talking to a whole bunch of people. He is not certified. He is not a certified candidate at this point. He is not certified. He is not president-elect. So he is actually violating the Logan Act at this point. Again, this is our opinion.
And his people.
And his people. Yes. This is our this show is all about our opinion.
I mean, it's just
it's reality. It's fact. It's fact. So this again turns into what? Why do these people want to repeal the Second Amendment? Why do they want to have assault weapon buyback? You know what? If they implement that law, you know what I'm going to take to them and hand in to sell? A fork.
Bro, I'm
gonna take the worst fork that I have in my drawer and tell them, like, this is my assault weapon.
You know what I'm saying? It's human nature. Unfortunately, we have evil going on in this world. Anybody who doesn't believe that, that means your life. I mean, I've been all over the place, like, ideologically, but I'm just saying, at least for me, it's clear that there is evil in this world. There are people that
absolutely 100%
evil in this world. It could be from lower level, that somebody just hurting somebody innocent at the lower level, or kids or whatever, or it could be genocidal, some maniac with a lot of power, like Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin or whatever, Mao, doing that to millions of people.
But you know what?
Evil exists.
Let me cut you off for a second.
In order to protect yourself, people need to be armed. Armed populations are free populations. Mm-hmm. This is proven fact. Quick example, Kurdish people. Why Saddam targeted them with chemical weapons in the 80s? Kurdish people, even in Iran and Turkey, always been armed. And that's why the government doesn't like that. The central government, they always want to get into their business because they want to live free. You know what I'm saying? Now, you can say, hey, they want to secede part of land and create their own country. But I'm saying, as a people, they are armed people. They have militia larger than most standing armies. Everybody's armed. They teach girls, boys, since childhood. And the government is afraid because
Taliban does the same thing.
Exactly.
Taliban
what
does
I'm
the same
saying
thing.
is effective because they are armed and trained and they can outlast anybody. You know what I'm saying? They can be out in the mountain with a loaf of bread for weeks.
This is
and a freaking plastic shoes on. You know what I'm saying?
Sandals.
Right. I mean,
they weigh a ton, by the way.
They're tough people, but they're
like
free
10 pounds for a sandal.
And that's why they haven't allowed anybody to subjugate them.
So,
as a nation, to me, it's a matter of national security.
Of course, it's a national security.
Population.
But here's where I stand, and here's where I have the biggest question: where these people who want to repeal the Second Amendment, they keep talking about the Second Amendment as if it's their livelihood to make it go away. How come is it legal for people to shoot up drugs on the street, overdose, and die? That's okay because they're doing it to themselves. It's okay for the dealers to get off on a light charge while supplying people with drugs. It's okay for
poison.
It's okay for them.
Not even drugs, poison.
No. It's okay for them to do that and not talk about it and not try to do their best to stop the drug flow into the streets where more kids die of overdose.
Yeah, over 70,000 a year.
Why is it okay for them to die of drug overdose, and for the people who own guns and they practice safely, and of course there are crazy people out there, but the numbers don't match up. The numbers you can't lie about numbers.
So much
did you know more babies and kids die drowning in a pool than gun violence?
But I'm just saying.
Did you know that?
It's everybody can just look at their own statistics. On average, around 30 to 35,000 gun-related deaths happens in this country on average. Now, some years have been a little bit more. Some years, obviously, in 80s and 90s, with the crack epidemic and stuff, there was more gang violence and all that. But on average, let's say 35. Out of this, approximately 90% of them are suicide. 90% of them is suicide. Give or take a little bit higher, lower percentage, but vast majority of it. So when the media come and say tens of thousands of people die of gun violence, majority of it is suicide.
Well, not in Chicago.
But I'm just saying, the remaining 10% are gang violence, homicides, and very fractional number of that is, let's say, mass shooting or just a school shooting and things like that, which is the number, obviously, because that's what they want to do. That's what the fake news is. If a school shooting happens, you're going to see it and hear it for weeks and months on end. 24/7, they're going to play it. So you think that's pandemic. You know what I'm saying? We were talking about this pandemic going on right now. Okay, the first wave of virus came. Okay, now we have better therapeutic and stuff. I haven't seen anybody coughing in 7 months. Okay? If it's pandemic, you would think like... And then the other thing, my observation, as always, is I talk to people. I said, if they said there's an epidemic of gun violence, ask yourself a question. Have I witnessed anybody being shot live? That means, have I seen anybody getting shot in the street or in a home that I went saw the body? And then ask hundreds of people around you. Have you seen anybody getting shot and killed live? You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, your answer is going to be zero. And that shows there's no such a thing as a pandemic or epidemic of the gun violence. Because all those incidents, majority of them are very isolated in bad neighborhoods, gang violence, and shooting between each other.
It's majority gang violence, man.
As you see in Chicago and area, right? And of course, some other, things that actually has been reduced over time. But I'm saying, ask yourself, have you seen, I've been here 20 years, I haven't seen one incident in downtown San Antonio years ago that I was just going, some gangbanger shoot another gangbanger, and the body was there when I arrived. When I was in a vehicle passing, the body was there. That's the only incident.
My experience here has
obviously
been,
war zone is different, but I'm just saying in United States the only incident in 20 years traveling and living in several states. That's the only incidents that so that's not the epidemic. That's
I had a gun pulled on me when I was 13 years old, walking on the street with my brother.
It was a BB gun.
No, it was a real gun. No, it was a real gun, but you know,
was it functional?
I don't know. He never pulled the trigger. Thank God. Thank God they never pulled the trigger. But I actually had a gun pulled on when I was 13 years old with my brother and my good friend. And
ends up in a bad neighborhood.
And we lived in a bad neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying.
It's what it was.
It's a real
when we went to my brother, we went to a high school where 95% were Hispanic, and it was one of the high schools that had the highest number of gang members. The highest number of gang members. I remember clearly there was a park right next to the high school where almost every day they were shooting. Every day.
Who was in charge of that neighborhood and city? Which city was it?
It was in Reseda, California.
Which party was in Reseda?
It was Democratic man, of course.
Know what I'm saying?
It was and it was it was and still is. It was and still is the worst neighborhood in there, I think. But you know, we decided to move out.
Nice people.
Well, we decided to move out, which you know that pushed us to work harder, think better to get the hell out of that area, so we don't have to be in that area. And that by that move, we tried to go to a different school that had better school, and it was less dangerous. But in reality, it happens. It is out there, but it's all because of bad neighborhoods, gang violence. It's majority about gang violence. It's not the gun owner who sits in his house and drinks a beer and watches TV while his gun is under his bed or in his safe.
In my opinion,
it's not that guy who's going out and shooting people. Okay? And for people to say, and the best part is they blame other states for selling guns. They're like, oh, it's because of you selling guns, the guns pour into our state.
Now they got court.
Do you realize that those people who buy guns, it gets registered? There's actually a registry. There's a process.
Anything that is not actually right now, for example, anything that is not a single action, like a rifle, like a hunting rifle, even in some states they have to register those.
Everything's registered, dude.
Right, I'm just saying, some states for single action hunting rifles you don't need to register.
Right.
Meaning you register the rifle when you purchase it, but it doesn't go through the national database.
Right.
So
it's registered in that state.
Any type of handgun or semi-automatic rifle, not the shotgun. Not the shotgun, even
semi-automatic. Okay, people, let's talk about what semi-automatic means. Semi-automatic is not an automatic weapon. Semi-automatic means when you shoot a bullet, the weapon cycles, meaning it ejects the shell and loads another round into the chamber. But if you keep your finger on the trigger, it's not gonna fire the new bullet that was rounded into the chamber.
It's basically one trigger, one round.
One trigger, one round. That's what it means when it's semi-automatic. Okay, semi-automatic. There's a spring embedded into the guns, which they are called buffers. And most of the rifles are gas. They operate on gas. Basically, when you shoot the first bullet, the gas goes through this tube. It pushes the what was it called? I forgot what it's called. It pushes the block back. Anyways, so what it means is it's not a fully automatic.
Yeah.
What makes it fully automatic is your finger. Okay, you can only shoot one round. It's the same thing with pistols. Pistols are semi-automatic. Okay,
they're the same as
even revolvers. Revolvers are also are a semi-automatic weapon. Okay, revolvers. When you shoot the first bullet, when you're about to pull this trigger, what it does, that thing rotates. So a revolver, revolver's been around for how many years now?
100.
hundreds of years. 150 years. They've always been around for 100. Then that is also considered a semi-automatic. Okay, so single shot rifle, it's the only one that's not automatic.
The question comes down to, we have some constitutional rights in this country and the Constitution is based on Declaration of Independence, which said these rights are inalienable rights. That means it came from God. Nobody can mess with it. So, meaning, let's say the Second Amendment, but what they do, what the left does, incrementally they try to destroy the Constitution.
Correct.
Incrementally,
they're on a mission.
They're not. Let's just put it out there. They are not pro-Constitution people. You know what I'm saying? And there are some really people with ulterior motives on that side. They are not for. And if you're looking at it, is, for example, conservative judges, they just want to interpret the Constitution as written.
All right.
You don't come up with your own ideas of what the Constitution is. No, it says in blank text, black and white, that's what it is. It says the right of people to bear arms shall not be infringed. That's only actually in the Bill of Rights that says shall not be infringed. That means you cannot do that.
Yeah.
So when you're doing like California, actually court cases going to the Supreme Court, which probably is going to end up reversing all those restrictions in California.
Well, they did.
As it did the Heller case in D.C.
They did. They reversed the 10 round max.
That means you make it so difficult that you are actually nullifying that constitutional right. If you make people so difficult, for example, in D.C., they were saying you can't even it would be impossible to even have it in your house because you can't even get it to your house. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? They make it so illegal or put restrictions for you to transport it in that area, right? Which I understand is a government area, you have security and all that. But I'm just saying, for individual protection, for people that are law-abiding citizens, have passed the background check, purchased it legally with the background check, it made it difficult. So the Supreme Court pretty much shut that down. So it's going to go, California is going to be the same thing.
Well, California is the Supreme Court.
Because they have like a 10 rounds limit.
Right, that was overturned as being unconstitutional. Anyways, this segment was all about Second Amendment, and we're going
to get into it later because it's such an important topic.
Very
and
important
our experience is very relevant to it because we came from
that's why I'm wearing this hat. This is
it's not for hunting. It's not for being fancy.
This is all for.
It doesn't matter. It's just this is a constitutional right to me. It's a patriotic duty of every American of adult age to own firearm. Anybody who doesn't have criminal background, patriotic, decent citizen, they need to be armed because it's it's a matter of most famously before we go is a quoted from Japanese general. They said, okay, we attack U.S. like Pearl Harbor, but after that, if we go inland, if you don't go inland, we are not going to conquer them. They're going to come back stronger.
Exactly.
And if you go inland, behind every grass, there's a man with a rifle.
Exactly.
Especially down south, so to speak. So when you're talking about communist China or our enemies and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Look at the riots going on right now. You know what I'm saying? You have awful politicians in some big cities. They can't even control basic robberies.
They don't want to.
Assaulting
they don't
people
want to.
In daylight in the street. They never follow. Senator Rand Paul, a United States senator, with his wife coming out of the White House, were assaulted by a gang of lunatics, so-called Antifa. They're actually the fascists. They're anti-freedom of speech. They're fascists themselves, right? They've been harassed and attacked. The police officers get injured. The judge over there and the prosecutor said, we are not going to follow this case and press charges. And he's a United States senator, the person who was just attacked a year before by a lunatic, radical leftist neighbor, broke his ribs, almost damaged his lung, that they had to remove part of his lung or something like that.
Yeah.
Seriously injured. And this guy is a doctor because he has a different opinion. And if anybody out there, conservative, decent Democrats, you think that these people, we don't have enemies within our country, that they're coming, they want to destroy our Constitution, they want to destroy the way of life, tradition in this country, you are out of your mind. We cannot be sitting silence until it actually happens, because then it's going to be too late.
Exactly.
That's the whole purpose of us
this is why we always call out the GOP, because they're spineless. They're not even doing anything, man.
Who already been attacked outside of the White House, in capital of this country, and the district radical left prosecutor is not going after the people who assaulted him. Do you think you have any chance?
Hell no.
That something happens once they have full control to not come after you? Anybody who would just pick their head up, they can club their head up. Look at Venezuela. I mean, look at Iran. Look at Cuba. Look at China. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to go that route. And in order to not go that route, the only guarantee is armed population, motivated, when the limit just, is getting closer and closer to past the limit. So we need to make sure that there are going to be people protecting themselves, their communities, and their constitutional God-given rights. This is not by the government. It's not by some liberal professors. This is the United States Constitution, and I took an oath to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And trust me, there's plenty of domestic enemies running around right now.
It should be every citizen,
openly calling for the destruction of this country. If you think this is a joke, it's not a joke. It's not just somebody just expressing opinion. They are calling it in their radical left riots. What they call it? No USA, something like that.
What are you talking about? No, I don't know.
Yeah, they have like a thing that they call it like literally just destruction of the United States.
I mean,
you have George Washington.
The media already says burn down the system and rebuild back.
Exactly.
Rebuild it.
So,
or when you have Biden said build back better, and when you have the head of World Health Organization saying the same exact thing. These are all propaganda.
This is a global movement.
It's a global
radical left movement
to destroy this country.
Funded by communists. It used to be back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. By the Soviet Russia, now that China has picked up the tab and running with it. Right. So this is no different. This is just a continuation of the same evil.
Yeah.
So we just have to keep an eye. If you don't have firearms, after this pandemic, I had many liberal friends contacted me out of panic, because you see people running to the stores. There's going to be, you know what I'm saying, uncertainty. Holy crap. Now, what am I going to, how am I going to protect my family? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If things go south, even right now, instability. It could be natural disaster. It could be political instability. Who knows
anything.
What? So,
guess what? People with guns win.
So your insurance to defend yourself and defend your property and defend your family, most of all, is to have firearm, know how to use it, be around people that they are decent people and they have firearm, they know how to use it, be closer to those communities. That's why my recommendation is anybody who have means, look at your surrounding community. If you live in a city and you are seeing these cities are declining and is a trend. So meaning this is not just a temporary situation. The Portland situation and the stuff you see has been out of control for months and months and months, and nothing has been happening. So you just move out of the city. You just find a way, move out, further out.
Well, I mean, not everybody can move out anyway. So it's hard to move. It's hard to leave where you live for like 5 or 10 years. Not everybody have that
property. But I'm saying, unfortunately, that's a gamble you have made.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
with that, thanks for watching, guys. As always, please subscribe, share, and hit the bell button.
Amendment, God bless him.
Hit the bell button. Please share the video. We don't have a big advertisement, but we don't even have an advertisement budget, so we rely on you guys to share the video for us. Get the word out. We're trying to get as much information as we just want to. We just want to spread the message. Give you guys our opinion about what we think, and read up on the Second Amendment. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised about what's in there. And don't. I hate to say this, but don't believe in media, man. The media has been on a propaganda machine for the past 15, 20 years. 15, 20 years.
Longer than that, but now it's just that's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 15, 20 years that I start to pay attention to it. So that's how long I've known. But other than that, God bless you. Stay safe.
Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and God bless America.
We love you guys.